our Zoom and Facebook. Some folks might still be coming in, but I'll go ahead and say hello and get started since I made you come in and grab a seat. So good morning. My name is Liz Erlewine, and I'm the Visual Arts Director here at Crooked Tree Art Center. And welcome to Coffee at 10. I'm excited to have so many folks with us today. I know Ken is still outside welcoming students, so I'm so glad you guys are here and able to join us for today's event. Michelle, how are we looking out there? A few more stragglers probably coming in, or pretty good? Yeah, two. If you want shy seats, we've got 2 seats over there and 2 front seats right here. All right, so I am just filling some time as we're waiting folks to get in here, but I'll tell you about Coffee at 10. So Coffee at 10 is this series that Crooked Tree Art Center has been doing for years. We offer this program both in our Petoskey location and our Traverse City location. And the goal behind the series is simply to bring people together to engage with art, talk about art, and think about some of the themes and ideas that relate to the exhibitions that we have on display, and really bring community together. So each week is a little bit different, but it gives us an opportunity to reflect on creativity and hear from some of the artists in our region and beyond. So I have been programming Coffee at 10 here in Petoskey to coordinate with our exhibition series. So every week during an exhibition, we have a Coffee at 10. So if you are new today and you enjoyed this and enjoy your free cup of coffee, courtesy Roast and Toast, then please come back and join us for coffee, pastries, and a good conversation. This series is made possible thanks to that support from Roast and Toast, but it's also made possible thanks to Crooked Tree Art Center members. So Crooked Tree Art Center is free and open to the community to come and join us and enjoy our programming, and that is possible largely because of support of our members. If you are already a member, big thank you to you. If you are not yet a member and want to know more, you can see Bobby at the front desk and he'll answer your questions and let you know about that. So I mentioned that this series is in conjunction to our exhibition. So I'd like to introduce the show, which is bittersweet ending here Saturday. This exhibition is called Art Place Community, 10 years with Good Hart Artist Residency. So Crooked Tree Art Center hosts exhibitions for different durations of time, and this fall we've been able to bring this exhibition here to our Gilbert Gallery, and it extends into our Bonfield Gallery. So if you haven't yet seen the show, make sure you take some time today to walk around and look at the artwork. This show is a really unique opportunity. It's celebrating 10 years with Good Hart Artist Residency, which is a program that's located north in Good Hart. And we're going to hear from our special guest, Sue Kelso, today to hear more about that residency. In short, this is an opportunity for visual artists, writers, and composers to spend time in northern Michigan to continue to develop their creative practice. And it's a unique way to really foster artists and art in our community. And I won't go further than that because Sue's going to share all about that. But the show is a great opportunity to see the work that has touched that program. So over the past 10 years, Good Hart Artist Residency has welcomed over 80 resident artists to their program. And we invited alumni artists to participate in this exhibition. So everything that you see on display here in the Gilbert Gallery and in the Bonfield Gallery was created by artists who have been through that program, some in the very early years, and some just completed their residencies this past year. You'll notice that when you look at the work, there are statements accompanying it, so you can hear a little bit more about who that artist is and what they think about when they make things. So we've had a series of talks that relate to the show and bring in guest artists from the exhibition. But to close out this series, it is my true pleasure to welcome Sue Kelso to tell us more about Good Hart Artist Residency. Sue has been a true treasure and collaborator for Crooked Tree since the time that I've certainly been here and before that. It's always an opportunity or a wonderful opportunity to connect with Sue and to connect with the artists that come through that program. And I'm just eternally grateful for that work. So just please join me in a nice warm welcome for Sue. I think everything's working.
Thank you, Liz, so much for that. And thank you all for being here. It definitely warms my heart to see friendly faces in here and new faces. So thank you so much. I've had the pleasure of attending many Coffee at 10 talks, and I always learn something new. So I'm hopeful that you'll learn something new from my presentation today. I do want to thank Crooked Tree for 10 years of partnership. That's how we got started, is under the Crooked Tree umbrella, and I'll talk more about that. But it is going to sadden us to see this show go away. Liz did such, and her crew did such a phenomenal job curating this show. So I hope you do take time to go to both galleries. Okay, so my talk today is going to be about running an artist residency, how we got started, the friends and relationships we make, and just how it's really been worth it, this journey that Bill and I have been on for 10 years running an artist residency. I have to say that Bill and I in our married life have moved around a lot. And one of the moves that we did was to Missouri. And when we went down there, a real estate agent gave us these brochures, you know, like Chamber of Commerce, why you should move to Kansas City. And one of those had on top of it, it said, no beaches, no mountains, no problem. You know, we're coming from Michigan, you know, that's, so anyway, with Bill and I, we're not artists, we're not writers, we're not composers, no problem. We're going to run an artist residency. So, and I do want to invite, we've got Carrie Tebow here in the first row, who's staff. We have Joanne Stewart, who's our program facilitator, and Bill. Fill in the gaps for me. If I forget a name, speak up. And also, if you have any questions throughout, let me know. So, when I say I've enjoyed Coffee at 10's, Danny Knopf is here. I enjoyed her Coffee at 10 recently. Benjamin Chaney and Mamie Takahashi. It's a little different standing on this side, but we'll go through. So how many of you are familiar with, raise of hands, with what an artist residency is? Quite a few, quite a few. Okay, if you're not, you're going to learn more about it right now. So here's kind of first our mission, of course, you can read it there. This is a photo of Lake Michigan. It was actually during the high water time. You can see how the shoreline is getting eroded away. But the residents that come, almost all of them go to the beach every day for inspiration. So this is where they access the beach in Good Hart from the residency, which is located on the non-lake side of the road. So here's kind of a definition that we found of what is involved in an artist residency. I'll let you read it, but the keys is that an artist, and when I say artist, I mean writers, composers, and visual artists. It's kind of an umbrella term. They're all artists. So when they come, they're working in a new environment, and we're providing that time and space. And also what we provide is free room and board while they're here for a stay that can range between 10 and 21 days. And they are paid a $500 stipend because we do ask them to do something in the community that's educational. So that's what we provide. Now, this is the clean definition. This is more accurate. Okay. So what is an artist residency? This is from our friends at Pineywood Atlas. They put out little pamphlets that focus on artist residency programs around the whole United States. And we were lucky to be featured in one of theirs. And we asked their permission to use that. But as you peruse that, there's a lot of questions that somebody might ask before coming to a residency about what a residency may be. Okay, so that's the messy thing. Now, if I have to change that to what does it take to run an artist residency, you think I'm going to put another fancy thing, but I couldn't do that. It would probably be 4 times that size of a diagram, right? So a lot goes into running an artist residency. Okay, which I have a point. Okay. Okay, so how did this get started? First of all, this is a beautiful image that Bill took of the ice and such in Good Hart, and then the ice and sand and everything eroding in Good Hart in the spring. So how we got started is, have you ever had an idea of, you know, what could potentially be a good thing, and you think about it for a while and they kind of put it away on a shelf and it comes back again and you kind of put it away. You talk to people about it. It's like an idea that won't go away, right? So that's what I had about an underutilized space that we had for guests. And our daughter, who's a visual artist, who got her MFA, she graduated with people that were just hugely in debt, hard to get started in an art career. So thought of, how do we support them? How do we provide that time and space so that artists can find time for their creative work? So I talked to friends, I talked to people in the arts, and they all said, not a good idea. It's going to be too much work. You know, that's too much work. You don't want to do that. But we persisted, and I talked to Liz Aarons at Crooked Tree a couple of times and finally got her out to our guest space. And that's in 2013, we began planning what an artist residency would look like. And by 2014, we were hosting our first artist, Kalina Vinska. So that's really how it all came about. We've been doing it 10 years, and it's definitely well worth it. I'm gonna try this again, Liz.
Oh, well, I went you just.
Okay. Okay. All right. So after being under the Crooked Tree umbrella for for the first 5 years, we decided we want to go out and form our own nonprofit. And that was a whole nother learning curve for Bill and I, but it turned out just fine. The pillars of our program, we are about art, place, and community, and that's reflected in the show that Liz titled Art, Place, and Community, 10 Years with the Good Heart Artist Residency. So we focus on art and see it as an opportunity for conversation and an opportunity maybe for even some community and change and education. The place, you all, if you live up here, Northwest Michigan is just phenomenally beautiful. When Bill and I would go back and forth between Grand Rapids and Northern Michigan, when we got up here, you breathe that air, your shoulders drop, and it's just a great place to be inspired. So art happens here, and there's a history, and there's certainly plenty of artists up here. And then community, living up in this community, many of you may have moved up here because of the arts, because you had access to the arts, or you live here and you appreciate that you have access to the arts here through organizations like Crooked Tree Art Center. It certainly helped us in our decision of where to, move when we were retired to come up here. The pictures you're seeing this is from Open Studio Saturdays. The visual artists in the summer all do an Open Studio Saturday where the public has a chance to come in, meet these people from around the world, see their art, talk to them about their art, and then just conversation, coffee, scones. Sometimes we have a fire. It's just a nice atmosphere for the community to gather. Okay. Yep. Yeah. All right, so why we do what we do? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I was tempted to say how many times I've cleaned toilets and changed bedding, but we're gonna steer away from that and talk about the joyful part. So we do what we do because of joy. It's joyful. We get to show these people Northern Michigan. We don't take this place for granted, because every time you bring somebody to like Lake Michigan and they think it's an ocean, can I see across? Right? They all ask those questions. So it's like us seeing this place in new eyes all the time, with new eyes all the time. I love this picture of Elsie Dixon, and she was doing a workshop with the Women's Resource Center, and it was at Crooked Tree, and we invited the Resource Center staff to come, and it was bread making and beeswax, cloth making, a great workshop, and we fed them, and it just was a joyful experience all around. After these events that we have, Bill and I are always kind of, natural high, because we just see the wonderful things that happen by bringing the artists here and having them work with the community. The swimsuit, Ella, she wanted to swim in late October in the lakes. So, okay, I'll go with you. So it can be a joy. And then, everything you do in Northern Michigan is just really fun to do with artists that come. Meeting interesting and creative people. I think one thing I should say is, I'm going to talk about certain artists, but it's hard to talk about over 80 people that you've encountered, right? So somebody asked me once, who's your favorite? Who's your favorite resident? And it was like asking, who's your favorite child? You can't answer that question. So I'm not going to talk about everybody, but just know they all hold a special place in my heart, because especially in the first 4 or 5 years, they were eating dinner with us almost every night. So they truly became family. And even still, they become very close to us because we get to experience their art and they get to experience our area. Yeah, so the picture of the man holding the carp, that's Mike Marks. Sometimes when people come here, they want to have tunnel vision. Writers may just sit and write for 2-3 weeks straight, right? But Mike, his art was very much inspired by the environment around him. So we would say, goodbye to him. He'd be off for 2 and 3 days in the woods, and then he'd come back for food and all that type of thing. So people really vary in how they experience the artist residency. This is a picture. He was right here in Petoskey, right below the dam where it goes out in the lake. he apparently got it near shore, the fish near shore, and it started to shrug off and get away. So he dove into the water, captured it and brought it to shore. So made it very memorable for us. Yeah. And, no. And then of course, with purpose, Edie Stoughton, a friend of mine, wrote a book about retiring and preparing for retirement. And one of the big things was you need to have something you're passionate about, something that gives you purpose. And running an artist residency has given us a lot of purpose. So much so that we hired somebody full-time to help out. So, but through almost like catering events and working on the residency itself, that's Bill standing on a roof that a friend of ours designed, these little, things that hold it to the building. And Bill was showing how strong it was engineered for our friend. Yeah. Go ahead. So again, why we do what we do, we like to bring a diversity. We've moved around in our lives. We've experienced different cultures, met interesting people. And if you live in Northern Michigan, you may not have that opportunity so much, right? So selfishly, we're bringing those people to us, right? So we get to meet people from all over, different life experiences, again, and to show them Northern Michigan. In the top corner there, that's Tylon Sawyer. He was here just in June of this year as part of our Elevating Diverse Voices residency. And I don't know about you, but I treasure that I get to sit down and have dinner with these people and have conversations about tough issues and good issues and things, just life in general. But with Tylon, we had this discussion about racism and why people aren't more welcoming and all that. And we talked about how, we try to be welcoming to all. And we just had a really good discussion about a tough issue over a meal. There was one issue we had to agree to disagree. And it was over music, because he said his music of the 80s was better than my music of the 70s. So no, we're going to disagree. So yeah. And then Julie, I didn't talk about her yet, right? She's holding up number one. She's from China. That was her first ever s'more. And we cooked hot dogs over the fire. That was her first ever hot dog. I feel bad because not so healthy, but her first ever, which is pretty cool. And then we love to take people up to Legs In. That's their door. Take an artist, a visual artist, to Legs In and show them the inside of that place. It blows their minds. And almost all of them afterwards will sketch something in Legs In that caught their attention. So. Yeah, and Becca Lynn and Dillbilly and just Kalina Vinska, she was the first artist, composing duo from London, just excellent singer-songwriters, and our Cricketry Ballet people I'll talk more about collaborating with them, but just valuing the arts, how can we support the arts? And this is how we decided to do it up here in Northern Michigan. All right, go ahead, Liz. Community relationships, right? So we're trying to help support organizations in this community that makes it a wonderful community to live in, and to build this residency as part of that community. So connections to community, friends we've made. I see volunteers and people in the audience. Thank you so much. They're helping do what we do. We value that. We also have a lot of partnerships, and I'll talk more about that later. But below that, with the snow, we're doing forest bathing in a blizzard. And it was a program with the Petoskey District Library and Little Traverse Conservancy, a writing therapy workshop for Women's Resource Center. This is the meal for the Rhythm and Roots concert. We had fed about 70 people, thanks to volunteers this spring. And then even during COVID, we found ways to build community, even though we couldn't eat together and everything. Hung a cast iron kettle over a fire outdoors and shared a meal with the residents that would come and some of the volunteers. So, and then this is, I talked about already, it's a place for inspiration. As you drive down to the residency, there's a sign, Natural Beauty Road, 25 miles an hour. So when we get to the residency and orient these people, we say, time to slow down, right? Time to relax. This is a place of respite. If once you can do that, then you can be inspired, right? So it's a place to slow down, a place for caring. People are inspired by my garden, the wildlife. This is the path right here that they take to go to the beach, and many go each day. Even the midges are inspiring, not expiring, I hope. Yeah. So Elgin Cleckley was here and he said, I felt really bad about these midges at first, but then I read they only lived for like 24 hours or something. He said, well, then I didn't feel so bad. I felt bad for them, but we had another artist. I took her up to Sturgeon Bay. And at that time, the midges were rolling in clouds off the lake. And she thought that was the coolest thing. I don't know if she ever incorporated it into her art, but midges can be inspiring. All right, go ahead. Okay, but to me personally, what I get out of running artist residency is seeing the world through an artist's eyes, seeing the world through another person's perspective. Like with Danny's talk, and she talked about wanting, really connecting with plants and butterflies and things like that. Artists see the world, really see things, for a lot of different reasons, but it helps me appreciate the world around me. And really, when art is made, it's a very vulnerable, personal thing. And we're getting to experience that with the artists, to some small degree when they're here and then when they share it with the community. Two people came to mind when I had the thought about seeing the world through another's eyes. Stephen Walker, he is an excellent oil painter. And that's us at the top of Sturgeon Bay Dunes. And he's taking photographs and he's saying, I want to come back here in the morning. I want to come in the afternoon. I want to come in the evening, because he wants to see how the light shifts and hits different parts of the dunes, right? And then he's going to capture that in his painting. And he does specialize in painting at dawn and dusk and how the light comes at an angle. So I could be sitting in my garden and just think of Stephen, because I'm there in the morning or the evening a lot of times, and I'm watching how the light's coming through the trees. And so I think about these art. I think about Stephen because he taught me that, really to look at that or observe that about the world. And then Natalie Maibach, a few of you got to meet her. I think she was just here in August. Kind of blew my mind. I'm not sure I fully wrapped my brain around her work. She takes scientific data for things like hurricanes, and her sculpture, Stephen's work is over there, and so is Natalie's. So she takes scientific data, plots it, weaves it. Did you see her talk? Good. Yeah. And then creates these sculptures. And then somebody takes this information and creates musical compositions. Just totally amazing to me. When she was here, this, right here is what she thought she would be working on again. But her work was influenced by the sunsets on Lake Michigan. Does that make sense? Yeah. So her work changed significantly because of being inspired by here. But she still incorporated weaving. These little pieces are woven. They're all woven. And she observed the sunset colors every day and the storm conditions and whatever. So there's a whole series. This is probably the brightest one. She had some pretty, good weather when she was here. So she got to see a lot of different examples of Lake Michigan and sunsets. So just beautiful. So just an idea of how this expands, our thinking. Go ahead. We strive to be welcoming to all, bring a diversity of arts and artists to this area, and we are on the ancestral lands of the Wakanaksinadawa people. If you haven't been to the residency, that's a picture of the residency where they actually stay over there, the building, and then here is a picture of the studio during the start of an open studio. When we raise that hydraulic door on the front of the studio, people know that they can come in, which is wonderful to have people gather. So I say we're welcoming to all, but it's extremely competitive to get selected for this program. Doing it 10 years through word of mouth, people have heard what a great experience they're having. So we have more and more people apply. To help, Bill and I don't select who comes. We have 14 jurors and 3 moderators that help us in that selection process. So pretty crazy to get in. But just talk a little bit about Jana Harper in the top one. She was here last fall and did a talk with Little Traverse Conservancy at a nature preserve, and she did it with jointly with Eric Hemingway. She had us lead each other through nature while I don't know if Joanne, you did that or not, but we had to close our eyes and let somebody else take us through the trails, and then her art activity was you had to take your sketchbook and your pencil, close your eyes and draw, and you were trying to do it by sound. So it was kind of an awakening of the senses in the woods. And then she asked me to sing to the lake with her and Anishinaabe Mauen, correct, Liz? Close. And so we sang to the lake in 4 different directions. She has deep family ancestry through the Straits, down to the Manitoulin Islands. Her family, Native American, were light keepers in this area of the Straits. She was really here, looking at her family history and connecting with the land of her ancestors. And Becca Lynn is an alumni of the program too, just a wonderful Adawa bead worker, two-spirited Adawa bead worker. We've had a lot of chances to work with Becca Lynn. She helped facilitate the Rhythm and Roots concert last June for us. And she's just a great resource that's helped us build relationships with the Adawa artists. So, go ahead. All right, I'm talking so fast. Anybody get questions or anything? I'm doing okay, time, okay, all right. So what makes our program unique though? Because there are about 560 when we started artist residencies in the United States and more in the world. But they had tens of thousands of applicants. And so there's a need for more artist residencies. They're like think tanks for the arts. And it gives those people the time to be like in a think tank and focus on their art. So, but what makes us different? There's some that are in large apartment buildings where you're with many people, and then ours is more of an isolated small program that hosts one artist primarily at a time. So really what makes us unique, what we hear back from the residents, is that we have people that we call the local hosts. And they help welcome people to the residency. They might bake them cookies, they might bring them a meal, they might take them on a hike. We try to pair the resident with the local host. So if you have somebody that's coming as a runner, we find a runner as a local host if we can. So there's a whole set of volunteers that we have that are local hosts. Up there is Cheryl True. She's on the right. She's been a local host. She took Marcelin Bennett Carpenter, whose beautiful weavings are in the other gallery. Took her on an RV thing. I don't think Marcelin had ever been on an RV before. And at one point she lost her, but they found her. It was all okay. So we never know what kind of adventures the local hosts are going to take the artist on, but it's one of their favorite things about being at the residency. So everything we do pretty much involves food. Just the way my thoughts always run. Bill down on the bottom is showing all the maple syrup we made last spring. You know, he's got his 2-pan system there, and we invite artists that are here at the time to come out. That's Laura Centino. She's a writer. She's sitting, we're drinking wine and watching the maple syrup boil. So fresh jams, veggies out of the garden. This is a picture of the meal that we served recently for our 10-year celebration. It was just a great event with, I think, we had 20 families volunteer to host alumni in their homes, and so appreciative of that. So we had, about 20 alumni return. They were hosted in local homes in Good Hart. We fed them, took good care of them. We're just so appreciative of the alumni for returning and joining us in this 10-year celebration of their art. But of course you got to feed them. So big Mediterranean meal that day with about 70 people for that too. So at our home. And just open studios are, another thing that people enjoy because they get to meet the community. And then topped up their picture up there is Mamie Takahashi. When people leave, we tell them there's 3 ways to return. You can reapply after 3 years and go through the competitive process again. You can rent out the residency when it's not in use for a really fair price. Or we have our old residency space above our garage. You can call us if it's free. You get to stay there for free. And we've had numerous artists return. And we just love that because they really are like family to us. So Mamie's one that's returned. Well, she was originally an alumni. She was originally there for residency. And then second time she came back and brought her mother. And then this third time just recently and brought another artist up from Japan too with her. All good. It's all good. What do you have a question or no? Okay. Yeah. But you can see how rich it makes our lives, right? To run this residency. So, and to share that with the community too. Yeah.
So I obviously had the opportunity to hear you share some comments about the residency the past number of weeks. And one thing you shared, I can't remember when, was kind of about the remoteness of the experience.
Yeah.
The artists. And can you talk about that?
Yeah. Yeah, you can imagine many of these people are come from very urban areas, so when they get up to Good Hart, actually, when we pick them up, if we're picking up at Pelston, you've made that drive from Pelston right into town, it's not much but woods, right? And so I'm always afraid they're gonna think I'm taking them off to murder them, so I say right up front, you're safe. We haven't lost a resident in 10 years, you're okay. But, really, because of that remoteness, those local hosts help out, right? So that they feel welcomed and more comfortable. And we actually offer them free 1 hour of counseling services. So if somebody's really struggling with being up north, we have a counselor on call and they can get a free hour of counseling service. And we set them up with mentors. There's just a whole bunch of things that we do to try to make people feel comfortable, even in a really remote environment. Yeah. All right, we're good. So community engagement, I talked, one of the pillars of the program is to connect with community. 122 community events since 2017. Before that, all the events were at Crooked Tree in partnership with them, which is wonderful too. I said welcoming to all, 491 applicants in 2023, and we basically host one person a month. So yeah, it's word of mouth, it's spread like wildfire. So Dan Loomis down there with the bass, he's coming in January. He just finished a US tour with a jazz trio, and he was playing in Detroit. So we drove down to a jazz club in Detroit and enjoyed his show. And I look forward to, having him come here, and he's going to work with Harbor Springs High School's jazz band for his community engagement. And just any way we can engage with all ages in with the artists, we just treasure those opportunities. Two that I want to talk to that are larger. On the top is the Rhythm and Roots celebrating LGBTQ and Two-Spirit voices that we had in June of this year. And large collaboration, Bliss Fest, Crooked Tree. My mind's going to go blank and not remember everybody, but just a event that involved a public art project, art installation. And then we had a panel discussion that was very well attended about the difficulties of growing up LGBTQ plus or Two-Spirit in this area. Then we did the community dinner with volunteers bringing the food. And then after that was the concert featuring Dillbilly. And it was just a fabulous day. And we had new people that we had not seen in the community before that came out for this. And it was just wonderful. And the Lone Wolf collaboration again was numerous organizations, including Crooked Tree, ballet students, but we had a composer, Kate Eberstadt, that we had worked with Pelston Schools, and this young man and Kate created this beautiful original piece of music. The Crooked Tree ballet students basically choreographed that with a professional choreographer that Ben Chaney at the Croft Residency had brought in. And there was a performance. We had a packed house. It was just wonderful. And to see the ballet students connect with the Pelston student, it was just really heartwarming how they connected. So again, Bill and I do not know anything about sound lighting, but we, reach out to expertise in the community to make these things happen, and these collaborations to make things happen. Okay. So what we're excited about for the future and happening now, hired our first full-time staff. Carrie's photograph there. She's sitting here in the front row there. Thank you. She's just been wonderful. A little over 2.5 months maybe. And it's going great. We just really appreciate you. Each resident we already have scheduled through May of 2024. So like I said, Dan Loomis is coming in January working with Harbor Springs Jazz Band. We have another composer coming in February, working with Harbor Springs Elementary School. We have a writer coming, working with Pelston, and we have a composer coming in that we're still working on the collaboration of who they're going to work with. So we're excited about all those things that are coming through the winter. And then our next open call for applications is November 9th, coming up really quickly. So that means it's an opportunity for people interested in the program to apply through submittable software. They apply online. They have about 2 months to get their application in. Then it goes to the jurors. And then we do interviews, we do reference checks. And finally, by March, we're ready to announce who we will schedule between May, well, really June through May of the following year. New is our Writer Friends residency. When we first started this residency program, we actually like put something out in the community and say, would anybody else be interested in housing an artist, right? We were all doing just visual artists at the time. Everybody's like, no, I don't want the mess in my house or whatever. But we put it out again recently. Would anybody be interested in hosting a writer or a composer in the Good Hart Cross Village area? And Jamie McKenzie was Barry Bates in that's one of their guest cabins, stepped forward and wanted to host a writer. And so we had somebody try out their space this summer. They loved it. It's a beautiful space, just 4 miles north of the residency. So this new writer residency, they have 2 cabins. It's going to be a writer's friend residency. Because, you know, I think some of you guys in here are writers. You don't do it on your own, right? You're always bouncing your work off of somebody else. So working in collaboration, we found was important to writers. And so this is an opportunity for 2 writers to come, have their own separate cabins, but be able to meet up when they want on that same property. And there's a beautiful deck that overlooks Lake Michigan that they can write on, and lots of lake frontage for them to be inspired by too. So that's a new opportunity for us. We've never hosted writers in the summertime, and they've always not been happy about that. They want to be here in the summertime. So this will be a June opportunity for them. Carrie, is there anything you want to add to that
That sounds good.
that sounds good? Okay, but something we're looking forward to. So, and then our Elevating Diverse Voices curated residency, changing focus. We've worked with curator Juana Williams. She's at the DIA for the last 3 years to select a Black artist, focus you know, our program on Black artists, and we've had great people that we've hosted, built great relationships. But the program was designed to have a change of focus every 2 to 3 years so that we can hit different groups that are marginalized in the arts. And this year, the change is going to disability art or disability culture. And this isn't like we're just changing right now thing. We've been researching, we've been learning, we've been hosting disabled artists that we've invited up for the last 2 years to build our knowledge and to prepare ourselves to offer a really good residency experience, to make sure that that person has support, right? So Oakley Feely is one of the artists we invited up. She's going to be one of the panelists for selection. And then Matt Bodette, he's a disabled artist from Chicago area, and he's involved in arts organizations down there that focus on disability culture and advocacy. And he will be our curator, meaning he is the one that nominates, researches these artists, nominates them to come up to Good Hart. And he's also been up to Good Hart. And the other artist that we're working with as a panelist is Petra Kuppers from University of Michigan. And she's right now on a Guggenheim fellowship. And she still said, I will help you guys out in selection of artists for this program. So something we're very much looking forward to. So, and Carrie is facilitating a local writers group that will meet at the Petoskey District Library. When does that start, Carrie?
November 14th.
November 14th is the first meeting. So if anybody's interested as a local writer and joining a group of like-minded people interested in writing, you talk to Carrie. So they'll be at the library, the Petoskey District Library. Yeah.
Share how that idea started, Carrie. I think it's pretty interesting how that.
Yeah.
We had a resident writer who came and did a workshop at the library, and it was phenomenal, and it got 20 people in a room together, and everyone was like, can we keep doing this? We love this. So kind of grew out of that.
Yeah. And we've done other workshops too, writing workshops too, and people get so excited and afterwards they go, okay, when are we going to meet again? You know, and we're like, oh, the writer's only here for 2 weeks and that's it. But with Carrie, you know, she has a background MFA in, you know, writing poetry, right? And so she has that ability to facilitate that so we can have ongoing writing, you know, support in the community, which I wonderful. So, all right, go ahead. So continuing, what we're excited about is to continue to collaborate with Crooked Tree. They've been just a wonderful partner and support, you know, for us in our program over 10 years. And I put it kind of as a joke up here, our next alumni art show in 5 to 10 years. I'm kind of planting the seed, you know, for them to host another beautiful show like this with such a diversity of art. And then really, as with hiring our first full-time employee and looking and where we're gonna go in the future, we really want to keep an artist community in Good Heart that then supports other outlying nonprofits and amplifying their missions. So we need to build support for Good Heart. We've kind of kept it a little bit of a secret because we're kind of trying to give the artists their time. But we need to get the word out there, build support for the program so we can continue to offer residencies and invite these outstanding people to our community, right? And we are looking even beyond our time as founders, how we're gonna do that. So talk to me if you'd like to help in that, supporting the program into the future. And go ahead. All right, this is a picture of me. I hate to put a picture of myself up there, but this is me around the time we started the artist residency program. Man, with this artist residency, I'm ready to push that boulder up the hill, right? Spring of my step. Okay, and this is a recent photo next. There is still a little spring in my step, but I'm embracing that it is a big boulder and asking people for help, right? Okay, through our volunteers and hiring staff and everything. So we recognize that this is a big program, even though we seem to be a small program. There's a lot to it, and I'm embracing that boulder now. And I wanted to call this the end, which is embarrassing, but you're in Michigan, so you have to have a sunset. So last the end questions. Okay. So, and that is right at the beach, I think, right where the residency is too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for listening. I'm happy to take questions. I know I went. Yeah.
You're a real success story.
Yeah, just
I mean, a lot of work.
a lot of work, but I explained this to Peter Sparling, who was here at the residency in September. We explained, what the residency was and what we're doing. He goes, this is basically selfish. And he's right. I mean, we're doing it to enrich our lives, right? And enrich the community. So yeah, thank you. Success story. Yeah.
It's a question, or not a question, a comment on, because I was, part of your presentation, I thought about collaboration. I'm not an artist,
Hmm.
but I always had an impression or feeling also when I talk with artists, things that it's a lot of research, a lot of study is done. They just don't sit down and do something, make something.
Right.
They really think. But not a lot of collaboration in the actual creation of it. I remember seeing a picture one time of a husband and wife did a huge piece over here on the wall, and he did part of it, and she did the other part of it, almost like a collage, but he did his thing and she did her thing.
Right.
Merged it together with a huge project they did. And I like, you made the comment that were they composers or writers?
Two composers, yeah,
That was
singer-songwriters,
Two people working on this same piece.
right? And they make
Is there any, I guess, is there, I'm thinking about more opportunities of collaboration in
mhm,
other types of art forms and
mhm,
just to see what would come out of more than one person working together to
right,
create a masterpiece.
right. So there's value in both, right? The time to work alone and all that, but that certainly is a value in collaborating too. And we've seen that with the partnerships we've done to create like the Lone Wolf collaborators with the dancers and the composers and all working together, and it was wonderful. Because we host one artist at a time, most of our people are coming alone, but we do offer the opportunity for people to apply as collaborating artists. So there is an opportunity if they wanted it to collaborate with another, like an artist could collaborate with a writer or something like that. It just hasn't happened much actually at the residency. But in the community, when we get together, it is collaboration. And we've seen, even like the Women's Resource Center, they all were creating these individual squares with inspirational words and their own color pen. And then you put that all together, as an art installation. And we did it again at Rhythm and Roots, that collaboration of creating art. And then you put that whole picture together. It's just so powerful. So you're right. Collaboration is wonderful too. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Stand up, students. Yeah. Right.
Just wanted to see what the future was. Thank you very much.
Right. Yeah. So we just welcomed a writer yesterday to the residency. She lives in New Mexico, a younger woman. She's working on her first book of poetry. And she really values going to artist residencies to have those times to really focus on her writing. She's gone to numerous artist residencies around the US. So it is wonderful to see emerging people come to the residency too, and, you know, share their writing with the community too. So thanks, Ken, for bringing your students. Liz?
Yeah, question that's related to that, thinking probably about the fact that we have a bunch of students in the room. As the residency gets more and more competitive, do you find that there's a change in sort of the place and career for the artist? So, I'm wondering if in the early days, did you have more emerging artists and now they're much more established with heavier CVs? Can you talk a little bit about that and whether that impacts what you're trying to do with your program or?
Right. So when we first started, because of what I told you about my daughter and her friends that had gotten degrees in the arts, and then you struggle to get into shows and all those type of things. The focus entirely when we started the program was on emerging artists, people that were early in their careers or had gone through life, you know, raised their families and then are coming back to their careers. And that's very common. So our program focus at first with Cricketry was on emerging artists. And we still, you know, had people at all times of their career, because they'll say, I'm an emerging artist, because you always feel like you're trying to make your break into the arts, right? And then we shifted to making sure we have at least a time slot or two for emerging artists, to now it's just open to anybody. But when we focus on diversity as a program, we want, you know, a diversity of artists in their careers, different ages, different, you know, everything. So we do try to keep that in mind. Still, yeah. Yes.
You mentioned a few times, those that are alumni. Do you consider them an alumni once they just finish one session, or are those for repeat?
Right. So anybody that's selected through the competitive process goes through, you know, the hundreds of applicants, and they're selected by the jurors. They do their 2 to 3 weeks or whatever, and then they're alumni of the program. Yeah. So they can return and rent the space and that type of thing. And we call, you know, I have to say, they've served on our board. They've served on panels for selection. They've done Zoom panels for us. Like we brought in 3 or 4 writers 2 or 3 times this last fall. We've done asked them to share their studio on a Zoom with the community. So we don't let them go. We actually have visited Kalina Vinska, our first artist, when she was working in Georgia. She moved to Seattle. It's real tempting to go visit her out there. We really keep in touch with these artists and their careers and what they're doing. Will it get more difficult with the more we get? Yes, it will. But we really work to make the residency nurturing and to build relationships with these people and follow their careers, and to maybe give them opportunities down the line, because it's an addition to your CV. If you can, I was on a panel, you know, or I was a juror. So it's, you know, we're trying to, you know, help them along in their careers as they, even after they're gone from the program. And they're just great people, you know, just great people. Yeah.
Another thing with that, the change in their career is really interesting too. So you go in the other gallery, you'll see Kalina Winska's very bright, you know,
In the corner.
things on the corner, one of the corners. When she came, she was doing very fine black and white, you know,
Mostly white work. Yeah. So yeah.
very, very subtle work. And now it's just completely the opposite. And so it's always interesting to watch how an artist or a writer progresses as they kind of.
Right. Yeah. In 10 years' time, we've seen people's work change substantially over that time, and it's just fun to follow. Yeah.
I saw that Trisha Whitting's display that she had here. It went back many years,
Mm-hmm.
and I went to talk to her about that, you know, our style.
Right.
Changed over the years.
Yeah. Well, it's just like Natalie Maybach made a complete shift here when she was in residency of what she was working on and doing. So get that new inspiration, your art's going to change. So, yeah. Michelle?
I just want to say, as a volunteer, it's a way to get in on all the selfish aspects of
Yeah.
residency. I do
use a local host, and I do not look at this part, so if you're interested in being a local host, even in the top page, you're considered local enough to be
Yeah.
a local host. You're just gonna have to drive that meal up or meet them on the, take them on the trail or something somewhere, but you know, it's my opportunity to enjoy some of yourself.
Yeah.
all that thing.
Well,
Share.
yeah, when we started, it was just Bill and I doing all of that, right? The hosting aspects and, you know, we realized that it wasn't that we had too much to do. It was that really the community benefits from sharing and meeting all these people from wherever they may be from. So really we extended that out to the local hosts and they love it, I think, most of the time. There might be, but most of the time, yeah.
I'll share one quick story on that. Who was the writer that Mike Rose and Ed and I went out and took dinner?
Oh, Timothy Bradley.
Timothy Bradley. So he's a writer, he's a residency board. He made it very clear. I think Sue had let him know ahead of time that these people won't leave in your, they'll be there a long time. So he made it very clear that he wanted to get back to his writing by a certain time. So we went, we had dinner with him. It was a great evening, but we didn't overstare well on that point.
Yeah.
He's all right, Ed.
Yeah.
He was in trouble to get anywhere done that night.
Yeah, we are very protective of the residents and their time. We ask them what time in their pre-residency materials on a scale of 1 to 10, how much contact you want with the public. And most people are about a 5. Current writer there is a 3, so she wants less contact. So we've just arranged one dinner and one outing for her, and that's it. And we really are protective. We try to let them have their time. You know, especially we try to support parent artists. And if they're away from their family for 10 days, let's say they usually take the shorter timeframes, they want to work. I mean, they're there to work. So we do try to be very respectful of the person's time when they're in residence and not make it a social club or something. Yeah.
Do you only accept applicants from outside the area or outside Michigan?
No, they can be from anywhere. And, you know, we've had a soft place in our hearts for local artists. We do, every other year, we've been doing a local art show that really focuses on local artists, only. So, we do try to be supportive, of local artists by providing, well, the workshops in the community they can attend through, you know, artists we have. Inviting them for residencies. Danny, yeah, came as a residency as a Michigan, local artist. So, yeah. Yeah, we try to cover the whole thing with a very small program. Yeah. So, Susan.
As a resident of the Hart, I would just like to thank you, Bill, for bringing what you have brought to our community.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, and we appreciate all the volunteering you guys do too. It takes a village, of good heart to run this for sure and beyond. Liz?
All right, we're about at time, so can you remind folks how they can get involved and what they can participate in as we move into the winter months or expect in the summer?
Right, so we have brochures out in the lobby area and you can grab it and go to our website. And there's contact information about, you know, how to be involved and really it would be contact through Carrie. Local host is a great way to be involved. We have a community advisory meeting or group that helps us. Really, we get feedback on programming from the community advisory and we kind of use it as a way to say, this is what's coming up at the residency. So the last 2 meetings have been a lot about disability culture as we ramp up to that program. So you can be on our advisory committee, come to our open studio Saturdays, come to our events and this wonderful show, please see this wonderful show before it's taken down. So just contact us through our website or talk to us right afterwards. We really welcome more people to be involved and to know what we're doing out there and support us. So thank you. Thank you, Crooked Tree. Thank you.